Seniors, you've never been told this, but a billion-dollar canned food industry has quietly built its profits on an ingredient that doesn't just preserve your food. It might be spiking your blood pressure every single time you open a can. For decades, major manufacturers have insisted their products are perfectly safe, yet researchers have uncovered something they almost never mention publicly. A chemical hiding inside the can itself may be pushing your arteries into dangerous territory without you ever noticing. Most people think canned food dangers come from too much salt or too much sugar, but here's the shocking part. The real threat often isn't the food at all, it's what's touching the food. And seniors were never warned, even though adults over 60 are the most vulnerable to its effects because of natural hormonal changes and decreased kidney efficiency. Today, we're breaking down the 5 hidden ingredients in canned foods that can elevate blood pressure fast, including one that raises it within just 2 hours. Number 2 is the one almost nobody talks about, even though it sits in half the canned goods in American kitchens. But number 1 is the most dangerous of all, and removing it may drop your blood pressure faster than any diet you've ever tried. Before we begin, tell us in the comments your age and where you're watching from. We read every response. Now let's get started, and be ready, because number 5 will surprise you. Number 5. The chemical lining in the can, bisphenol A. Seniors, here's a fact the canned food industry desperately hopes you never discover. The biggest blood pressure-raising ingredient in many canned foods isn't even something you eat intentionally. It's a chemical lining the inside of the can itself. This invisible coating, often made with bisphenol A, BPA, was designed to prevent corrosion. But here's the shocking part. It can leach directly into your food, especially when the contents are acidic, like tomatoes, beans, and soups. Most people think BPA is only a problem in plastic water bottles. But according to research from Seoul National University, drinking from BPA-lined containers caused a 4.5 millimeters of mercury spike in systolic blood pressure within just 2 hours. That's not a small change. That's the difference between borderline high and dangerously elevated. And for seniors whose arteries are already stiffer, that spike hits even harder. Here's what you need to understand. BPA is an endocrine disruptor. That means it mimics estrogen and interferes with the receptors that regulate blood pressure, nitric oxide production, and heart rate variability. When those receptors are confused or overloaded, your blood vessels lose their natural ability to relax. Think of your arteries like garden hoses. BPA makes them rigid, unresponsive, and unable to handle normal pressure changes. But it gets even more concerning. A 2020 analysis published in Hypertension Research found that adults over 60 with the highest BPA exposure had significantly higher rates of sustained hypertension and oxidative stress. That oxidative stress stiffens arteries, disrupts normal electrical signaling in the heart, and increases the workload on your cardiovascular system. And yes, this is happening even if you're eating something as innocent as canned green beans. Let me give you a real example. Joanne, age 71 from Minnesota, had been eating canned vegetable soups for lunch every day because they were quick and easy. Her blood pressure kept creeping into the 150s despite medication. Her doctor kept adjusting doses, but nothing helped. Eventually, a dietitian asked her to eliminate BPA-lined cans for 1 month. Joanne switched to glass-jarred foods and fresh produce. After 3 weeks, her systolic pressure dropped by 9 points, without changing a single medication or reducing her salt intake. So here's what you need to do. Choose canned goods labeled BPA-free. Never heat food in the can itself. Avoid canned tomatoes unless you know the lining is BPA-free. Acidity increases leaching dramatically. And whenever possible, choose glass jars or boxed broths instead of cans. This is huge because BPA exposure happens silently, daily, and automatically, and most seniors never even think to question the container. But now that you know, you can reduce this hidden blood pressure trigger in a single shopping trip. Before we continue, smash that like button and subscribe right now. Don't miss the life-changing tips still ahead. Number 4. The hidden sweeteners in savory canned goods, added sugars, and high fructose corn syrup. Most seniors think sugar only hides in desserts, but here's the surprising twist. Some of the highest sugar loads in the supermarket are sitting quietly inside savory canned foods you'd never suspect. Baked beans, canned pasta sauce, canned chili, canned soups, even canned vegetables labeled as home-style or slow-cooked often contain high fructose corn syrup or added cane sugar. And the amounts are shocking. Most people don't know this, but just half a cup of canned baked beans can contain 12 to 16 grams of added sugar. And many tomato-based canned sauces reach 20 to 28 grams per cup. For seniors over 60, this hidden sweetness acts like a metabolic landmine. Because here's where it gets interesting. Fructose doesn't raise blood sugar the same way glucose does. Instead, it rapidly increases uric acid levels. Researchers at the University of Colorado discovered that when uric acid rises, it suppresses nitric oxide production inside blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide is the molecule that tells your arteries to relax. When nitric oxide drops, your vessels clamp down. Blood pressure rises, and seniors feel this effect the most because their arteries are already stiffer and less flexible. But that's just the beginning. A study published in the American Journal of Cardiology found that adults consuming more than 74 grams of fructose per day had a 30% higher risk of elevated blood pressure, even when their sodium intake was identical to the low fructose group. This means sugar is triggering hypertension through a completely different mechanism, one most seniors never consider. Let me share a real example. Harold, 68 from Pennsylvania, was told by his doctor to avoid salty foods, so he switched from canned chicken noodle soup to canned tomato soup because he believed it was healthier. But after a few weeks, his blood pressure climbed by nearly 10 points. A nutritionist reviewed his pantry and found that his healthier soups contained high fructose corn syrup as ingredient number 2. Harold swapped them for no sugar-added boxed soups and low-sodium broths. Within a month, his systolic pressure dropped from 156 to 144. Here's what you need to understand. Sugar in canned goods is usually added to stabilize flavor after processing removes natural sweetness. But for seniors, that added sugar acts like a blood pressure accelerant. Start by checking labels for high fructose corn syrup solids, or evaporated cane juice. If the food contains more than 4 grams of added sugar per serving, put it back on the shelf. Choose no sugar added versions, or find canned options that use natural tomatoes or spices without sweeteners. But that's nothing compared to number 3, because this next ingredient creates a long-term structural change inside your arteries. Number 3. The artificial preservatives, inorganic phosphate additives. This one catches almost every senior off guard. You expect preservatives in canned foods, but you don't expect them to directly harden your arteries. Inorganic phosphates, listed as sodium phosphate, dicalcium phosphate, or phosphoric acid, are used to stabilize texture, keep meats firm, and preserve color. They're in canned tuna, canned meats, soups, gravies, and even some canned vegetables. Most people don't know the difference between natural phosphates and inorganic phosphates. Natural phosphates found in whole foods are absorbed at 40 to 60%, but inorganic phosphate additives are absorbed at nearly 100%, flooding your bloodstream instantly. And here's the shocking part. High phosphate levels trigger vascular calcification, the literal hardening of your blood vessels. Researchers at the University of Bonn showed that inorganic phosphate additives dramatically increased arterial stiffness in older adults by accelerating calcification inside the vessel walls. When arteries lose flexibility, blood pressure rises, the heart has to work harder, and the risk of stroke increases. Now here's where it gets even more serious. Kidney function naturally declines after age 60. That means seniors cannot filter excess phosphates efficiently. When the kidneys can't keep up, phosphate levels climb higher and higher, creating a dangerous feedback loop. High phosphate stiffens arteries, stiff arteries increase blood pressure, increased blood pressure further damages the kidneys, and weakened kidneys allow even more phosphate to build up. Let me tell you about Marie, 72 from Texas. She ate canned tuna almost every day. It was high protein, inexpensive, and easy to prepare. Her blood pressure remained stubbornly high despite new medications. A dietitian analyzed her meals and found she was consuming phosphate additives in almost every serving of canned fish. She switched to tuna packed in water with no phosphates added and replaced canned meats with fresh alternatives. Within 6 weeks, her systolic pressure dropped by 11 points, and her kidney function improved on her next lab test. Here's what you should do. Look for any words ending in phosphate on the label. If they appear in the top 5 ingredients, skip it. Choose canned products labeled no added phosphates, or switch to fresh or frozen proteins. And if you have reduced kidney function, be especially strict. Inorganic phosphates can elevate blood pressure faster than sodium for some seniors. Now get ready, because this next item is even more powerful, and chances are it's hiding in your favorite canned soups. Number 2. The flavor enhancer and hidden sodium source, monosodium glutamate. MSG isn't just a flavor enhancer, it isn't just a seasoning, and it definitely isn't harmless if you're over 60 and sensitive to sodium. Here's the surprising truth. MSG is chemically a salt, monosodium glutamate, and it adds a sodium load most people never account for. But that's just the start. Researchers at the University of North Carolina discovered that glutamate receptors in the cardiovascular system may play a role in blood pressure regulation. When MSG interacts with these receptors, it may amplify the hypertensive response in salt-sensitive individuals, and more than 70% of adults over 60 are salt-sensitive. That means MSG doesn't just act like salt. For many seniors, it acts stronger than salt, and most people don't realize how often they consume it. MSG hides under names like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, yeast extract, autolyzed yeast, or natural flavor. It's in canned soups, canned vegetables, canned gravies, canned meats, and nearly every canned Asian-style broth. A study published in Nutrition Journal followed adults who consumed MSG-rich foods and found that those in the highest intake group had significantly higher systolic blood pressure, even when total sodium intake was controlled. That means the glutamate itself may be amplifying the effect of sodium already in the can. Let's look at a real senior example. Walt, 74 from Arizona, ate canned chicken noodle soup almost every night because it was light and easy. His doctor couldn't figure out why his blood pressure spiked sharply in the evenings. When Walt's daughter reviewed the label, she noticed yeast extract as the third ingredient, a hidden form of MSG. Walt switched to a low-sodium, MSG-free broth and added his own herbs at home. Within 2 weeks, his nighttime spikes disappeared, and his average readings dropped from the 150s to the 140s. Here's what you need to do. Check labels closely. If you see the words yeast extract, autolyzed, glutamate, hydrolyzed, or flavor enhancer, assume MSG is present. Choose broths labeled MSG-free and use herbs, garlic, pepper, onion powder, or lemon for flavor instead. But now we've reached the final and most powerful blood pressure-raising ingredient in canned foods, the one you can remove instantly and see results faster than almost anything else in your diet. Number 1. The massive sodium load, sodium chloride in the brine. This is the one seniors need to hear most. The brine inside the can, the salty liquid you often pour down the drain, contains more sodium than almost any other household food. A single can hold 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium. That's the entire American Heart Association daily ideal limit in one serving. Here's what makes it devastating for adults over 60. Sodium pulls water into the bloodstream like a magnet. More water means higher blood volume. Higher blood volume means the heart has to pump harder against stiffened arteries, and pressure rises immediately. This is called volume-dependent hypertension, and it is the #1 blood pressure pattern in older adults. A major study in the journal Hypertension found that seniors who consumed canned products at least 4 times per week had significantly higher systolic readings, even after adjusting for medication, weight, and exercise. And because kidney function naturally declines with age, the excess sodium can linger for 24 to 48 hours, prolonging the pressure spike. Let me share a real example. Deborah, age 70 from Ohio, relied on canned soups and vegetables for convenience. Her daily sodium intake averaged nearly 3,000 milligrams without her realizing it. Her blood pressure hovered in the 160s. When her doctor asked her to reduce canned foods and rinse any she still used under running water for 30 seconds, she saw her systolic drop by 14 points in just 3 weeks. Here's what you can do starting today. Choose low-sodium canned options. Rinse canned beans and vegetables thoroughly to reduce sodium by up to 30%. Replace canned soups with low-sodium boxed broths. Limit sodium intake to 1,500 mg per day. And most importantly, understand this. Reducing sodium intake provides measurable improvements faster than almost any lifestyle change a senior can make. Your heart will thank you for it. Now, let's bring everything together. Your body after 60 is not fragile, it is responsive. It adapts quickly when you remove the hidden forces working against it. Each of these canned food ingredients affects your arteries in a different way. BPA interferes with hormone signaling, sugar suppresses nitric oxide, phosphates harden vessel walls, MSG amplifies sodium sensitivity, and brine overloads your blood volume. When you start eliminating even one or two of these triggers, your blood pressure begins to shift. Many seniors report improvements within days. Others see meaningful changes within weeks. What matters most is awareness, because awareness leads to choice, and choice leads to control. You now have the power to make simple changes that protect your heart, support your arteries, and give you back confidence in your daily meals. Now I want to hear from you. Which canned ingredient surprised you the most? And what's the first change you're ready to make in your pantry starting today? Share your answers in the comments. We read every one. Take care and stay healthy.